This is a tropical storm Milton update for Saturday evening, October the 5th. I'm Michael Groff. Typically on this channel, we talk Phoenix, Arizona weather, but given the magnitude and potential impact from this system, I thought I'd come on here and give an update, talk about some of the particulars, go over the information, some of the misinformation that's out there. I know there's a lot of questions. Let's see if we can clear some things up as we dive on in and discuss. First, let's take a look at the broader view of the tropics right now. We've got three storms on the board. There's Kirk, Leslie, and Milton. Now, first, Kirk, this is still a major hurricane, Category 3, top winds at 120 miles an hour, but it is gaining latitude. It's going to eventually curve off to the east. This will just impact portions of Western Europe as a post-tropical system over the next several days. Nothing to worry about here. Leslie, this is now a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane, top winds at 80 miles per hour, but this is also gaining latitude. And looking at modeling on this, sure looks like this is going to stay far east of the United States. This will just be another fish storm. So let's focus in on Milton here. This is the infrared satellite view of the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see out over the west and southwest Gulf. That's where the discernible low-level circulation of Milton has formed. Still a rather disorganized system right now, but the deeper convection is beginning to fire up here, and we will see better organization with this certainly by tomorrow and into early Monday. So here is the latest National Hurricane Center advisory on Milton. Top winds are at 40 miles per hour, and this is the official track from the Hurricane Center. They do believe this will become a hurricane early in the morning hours on Monday. And it should move pretty much due east until it makes more of that turn toward the northeast later on Monday and Tuesday. And that's where the rapid intensification begins to occur. On Tuesday, this should become a major hurricane. And again, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has this making landfall right around Tampa Bay as a major hurricane, Category 3, on Wednesday afternoon. Now, as we always talk about with any type of tropical system, you don't want to be focused exactly on the center line, on the direct path of this. Yes, of course, that's important still, but the effects from this will be along and east of that circulation center, or in this case, given the trajectory of this, along east and south of the circulation center. So again, should this make a little bit more of a northerly trek, still Tampa Bay would be in the crosshairs for significant storm surge if this does in fact turn out to be a Category 3 hurricane. But there's still a lot of questions with this. One thing to note is that the cone of uncertainty is quite wide with this feature. There is still a significant amount of model spread and uncertainty as to where this is going to go. And that will be cleared up over the next couple of days as we get more Hurricane Hunter aircraft in here. We get a better idea as to what's going on with this system. We get more model data, and so we can have a better idea as to ultimately where this system is going to end up. But that cone of uncertainty for landfall, I mean, that's anywhere from the Big Bend all the way down to south of Fort Myers. So that's a huge area. So anyone in the Florida Peninsula right now, and even up on parts of the Panhandle, you want to be prepared. Of course, it's hurricane season. You should always be prepared anyway, but you really do need to be prepared. And I know a lot of these places are still feeling the effects of Helene, those barrier islands in west central Florida, many of them still without power. We still have areas across much of the Big Bend that are without power. There is still massive cleanup efforts that are ongoing. And obviously, we all know about the humanitarian crisis that's ongoing across western North Carolina and parts of East Tennessee and some of the mountains of Georgia. We know what's going on there. So this, these hurricanes, it doesn't matter necessarily how strong they are. They can bring devastation even when the primary impacts are hundreds of miles away. So again, preparedness is important here. And if you're in one of those evacuation zones, you're near the coast, you need to heed your local officials, obviously. But we'll have a better idea as to where this is going and better clarity on this over the next couple of days. Looking at modeling on this is the tropical model set, the ATCF set. And again, there's a lot of clustering around west central Florida and around the Tampa Bay area. But again, there are there are other solutions. Some models take it a little further north, some a little further to the south. Obviously, further to the south would be better news for Tampa Bay, but you wouldn't be completely out of the woods. But that would obviously be worse for places like Venice and down to Fort Myers and Sarasota. Yes, you can see there's a model there that brings it up toward Brownsville and another one that brings it over up toward Louisiana. But again, we're going to discount those solutions at this point. And looking at the GFS ensemble, and again, the ensemble approach is always the best way to go for forecasting. And on this, the ensemble mean, the black line, and that takes it pretty much right up toward Tampa Bay. But again, there's a myriad of solutions that could occur right now. So just stay up to date, keep watching, and of course, we'll try to keep you updated with some better data as new model information comes on in. Now, this is the intensity guidance. And again, we've got solutions that are all over the board here. You got one or two models that keep this as a tropical storm. Those appear to be the clear outliers. Most models have this in the category 1, 2, or 3 range. A couple of models bring it up to a category 4, and there's one model there that brings it all the way up to a category 5. That would be the worst case scenario. But like I tell everyone, whenever you're preparing for a hurricane, always prepare for the worst case scenario. So even though I do not expect this to become a category 5, you should prepare as though it could. And again, this is not, on this channel, and we talk about this all the time, some of you might be new viewers, we don't do hype here. We don't do scare stuff, and, we don't tell you, oh my God, you're all going to die, and it's gloom and doom. And we talk about potential and risks and probabilities. And that's when most people that do these kinds of videos, there's a lot of people out there on social media that do these kind of videos, and they just want to scare you, and they find the scariest looking model. They find the model that has the lowest central pressure and the strongest winds, and they show you that, and they're trying to do that for engagement and all that, and we don't do that here. We talk about realism and the realistic probability, and more than likely, based on current model data, more than likely, this will be a category 2, maybe a category 3 hurricane. All right, let's show you. This is the rainfall outlook courtesy of the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center. This is a vetted product, and this is how much rainfall we can expect from this system. The good news here is this system will be moving at a fairly decent clip. This is not going to produce 40 inches of rain. At least that's how it looks right now. However, around Tampa Bay, just north of Tampa, we could expect anywhere from about 5 to 8 inches of rain. So St. Pete, Tampa, up toward Newport Richey, Plant City, 5 to 8 inches of rain. Lakeland could see potentially around 5 inches of rain, maybe a little less than that. Again, obviously, right along that path, east, southeast of that circulation center, that's probably where you're going to experience the heaviest rain. The entire Florida Peninsula is going to get soaked, but you'll notice the rainfall gradient is very tight because up toward the Panhandle, almost nothing. So that's how these things work oftentimes. So let's take a look at modeling here. First, we'll start out with the GFS. This is from the 18Z run. Now, this is one deterministic model. This is, again, the 18Z GFS. Now, this is valid at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. This run of the GFS shows what would be a major hurricane coming up towards Cedar Key. And this definitely is more of an outlier solution, but this run of the GFS, and actually the last couple runs of the GFS, kind of try to take this system a little further to the north. And if that's right, again, places like Cedar Key would be in the direct path of this. Now, that doesn't mean Tampa Bay and St. Pete and Sarasota and Newport Richey are out of the woods. But what it means is that the absolute worst effects, the eye wall and all that, would be to the north of there. Still, storm surge would be a major issue from Cedar Key all the way down to probably Venice and Sarasota, obviously Tampa Bay, especially because in this solution, this would probably be about a category upper, maybe a mid to upper end category 3 if the GFS were to verify. But again, this is kind of an outlier solution. And then you can see by the next morning, by 11 a.m. on Thursday, I mean, this is out of here. This is just east of St. Augustine. So it's moving at a fairly decent clip, and obviously it'd be significantly weaker by then. All right, now let's take a look at the European, and this is 5 p.m. Wednesday, and about that time, the Euro has this coming up on St. Pete as a 977 millibar low. This would probably be a low-end category 2 if this verifies. But again, I don't know if we really want to get caught up in exactly category 1, 2, 3. What we do want to note is that this would still be a significant system. This would be pretty much your worst case scenario in terms of the exact track. And especially given the angle, the trajectory this is coming at out of the west-southwest, which is an unusual direction for these storms to impact west central Florida, this would still push a significant amount of water up into Tampa Bay. This would probably still create 5 to 10 feet worth of storm surge, potentially more than that. And these are areas, obviously, that have already been ravaged by Helene. And there are some places here that we've been talking about this on our other weather discussions for a while. These are places that are still without power and that are going to be without power, and the cleanup efforts are still ongoing all across these areas. And so naturally, this is not a good scenario. And it's not just the storm surge. Obviously, the very heavy rain that's going to come from this, there will be flooding, and naturally the wind. And with category 2 winds, 100 mile per hour winds, that's nothing to sneeze at. So clearly this would be a bad solution as well. Not quite as dire as the GFS, that's for sure, but it is further south. It's much closer to Tampa Bay. But again, this is not going to be a situation where the storm just sits over top of you for days and days. Okay, this system is moving. Again, this is 11 a.m. on Thursday morning. This is out of there. This is near Melbourne at that point. Actually, it's east of Melbourne. It's off the east coast of Florida. Now let's look at one more model here. This is the European AI. And this is a model that's done very, very well so far this season. It did very well with Francine and Helene. And this has the system coming up again near Tampa Bay, but a little bit faster. This is 2 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. And this is more in line with the official track from the Hurricane Center as well. And so I think the Hurricane Center is leaning into this model solution just a little bit more as well, and kind of taking this and the ensemble approach as well. So if this were right, again, this is a 979 millibar low. So again, this would not be quite as strong as the Hurricane Center's official prediction, but regardless of whether this is a category 1 or 2 or 3, you should not take this lightly. This is a significant system and should be taken as such. So prepare. Obviously, you should have hurricane preparations already. This is hurricane season. You know what to do. And I know it's a bad time for this to happen because we already had Helene. But this is one of those situations where if you can possibly get out, then that might be something you want to consider. Again, power outages are going to be a major issue because the infrastructure has already been damaged. So a lot of things to think about with this, and we'll get better clarity as to what's going on with this as we go forward. But that is how things look right now. Now, there's been some talk about what kind of system this will be, and people trying to compare it to other systems and how bad this is going to be. And there's been some talk about this being kind of similar to the 1921 hurricane that hit Tarpon Springs. And that was a category 3, and that pushed 11 or 12 feet of storm surge up into Tampa Bay. That was a terrible, devastating system. And that was to an area that was far, far less populous. This is over 100 years ago now. This took a slightly different angle, of course. This came up from the Western Caribbean, the Southwest Caribbean, and then kind of came up the Yucatan Channel and then came up into Tampa Bay, which is traditionally, if Tampa is going to be hit, that's how this happens. But this is a system coming in from the west-southwest. And so I think, that's just as bad, if not a worse scenario, depending on how it plays out. But that was the 1921 storm that hit Tarpon Springs. And again, we have no way of knowing what this is going to be like right now. Anybody that says they know for sure, they're fooling you. Okay, right now, we still have a lot of uncertainty as to how this is going to play out. But just keep up to date. Watch official information from the National Hurricane Center. Keep those official tracks going, and we'll try to give you some updates showing more model information here as we are one to do on this channel. All right, that'll do it for this Tropical Storm Milton update. My next video on this topic will come back again tomorrow or as conditions warrant. Otherwise, if you enjoyed these videos, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell so that whenever a brand new video is posted, you'll get those notices. Your comments, questions, and suggestions are always appreciated. All right, the executive producer of this tropical weather update is my one and only, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation and proprietor of sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name. It is Sweet Child Arizona, talking about my Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for helping out with all of this. And check out Michelle's relevant links down in the description. Our streaming station available 24/7, 365. You can check all that out. And, of course, we always do our typical weather discussions here. Our Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion Monday through Friday, and, of course, on weekends when updates are needed. Yes, we had 12 straight days of record-breaking heat now, and we expect more records to fall again tomorrow and Monday, and we'll talk about that. But thought we'd give you an update here on what's happening with Tropical Storm Milton. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support, so greatly appreciated. Please be safe out there, and you guys have yourselves a terrific rest of your Saturday.